You're listening to the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. We're in Los Angeles, the city of broken hearts, the boulevard of broken dreams, and we're with somebody that actually made a lot of people's dreams come true. That's Billy Shire. The dream he first started with was marketing his mother's soap with a place called the Soap Plant, which started around the same time LA Punk was functioning, and basically it just sold soaps and oils, and he branched out. He's basically the underground cultural mayor of Los Angeles. The Soap Plant grew into a gallery, and he started featuring and promoting the lowbrow art of, and let me just define lowbrow art is to Los Angeles basically what graffiti was to New York City. Lowbrow art artists, really talented and really concise drawings, but they often feature a lot of the same themes like tattoos, religion, religious iconography, hot rods, hot girls, nostalgia. There's a bit of kitsch in most lowbrow art, and it was Billy Shire that brought a lot of these artists into the public eye, who then flourished. I mean, Robert Williams being, the top artist that graduated out of that. Gary Panter, cartoonist and illustrator. The Coop, the Piz, Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo, who brought in then a lot of the cartoon artists from San Francisco, like S. Clay Wilson. And it was always Billy Shire who was there to give a space to these creative outcasts, these outsider artists of the highest order. And most of these characters that were doing these drawings all had some kind of outlaw element to their nature. Billy Shire has probably done more for Los Angeles cultural underbelly than anybody I can think of, and to this day continues. And not only does he have one of the greatest galleries, I think maybe in all of America, but an incredible bookshop, incredible ephemera. It's just one of the coolest places to hang out. I'm happy to be here. Welcome, Billy Shire.
Expletives?
You can just say anything you fucking want.
Oh,
You swear all the time.
Anything.
Yeah.
It's the Lydian Spin, so
That's what it's called, the Lydian Spin.
I don't know how you could possibly.
Yeah. What's that? Compete with my filthy mouth?
you start beeping, Lydia every.
Jesus, there'd be nothing left.
I was on a flight to South America, and that movie Three Billboards, which I guess has tons of swears.
I saw that one.
They overdubbed it. I saw the family version on the way to South America. So
my gosh.
So the woman's like, Judas Priest, what the fudge? And it was just
Oh, God.
2 hours of that.
Are we good?
At least they didn't use friggin'. I hate friggin'. Unless it's friggin' in the riggin'.
This is the Lydian Spin with Tim Dahl, and our featured guest today is Billy Shire of the Luz De Jesus Gallery, Soap Plant, Wacko. Thanks for talking to us, Billy.
Hello.
Clue me in.
Okay.
Clue me in.
You're in it. This is the back room.
Oh, we're in
Yeah.
the secret hideaway office at the gallery, which is even more outrageously decorated and full of enough to blow your brains out. I mean, the amount of information, art, literature, visuals in this store, I mean, there's no other place like it.
Oh, well, thank you.
I mean, no, in 20 minutes you can go blind, but you'll be very smart after that. Your mom started by making soap.
My mother, well, we started the store together. The story is my aunts were selling soap up in Berkeley, and I and my brother went up and remodeled their store and came down and say, Mom, why don't you open a soap store? And so it was soap and my brother's ceramics and my leather work.
And this was in the early 70s? Or before?
Yeah, no, 1971.
Okay.
We call it Juneteenth since we don't know the exact name.
And was that first location the Melrose location?
No.
Where was the first?
We were on Santa Monica and Sanborn for a year. Then we were on the Sunset Junction, it was known. It was kind of a post-hippie enclave of alternative stores, basically, what you have a proliferation of now.
Right.
Except there wasn't that much of hipness to spread around in those days. But, there was another leather store and a tie-dye clothing store and a candle store and
It was starting. How did you get into doing leather designs and clothes?
I was doing carpentry, and I knew I wouldn't have any hands left within 10 years if I
Wait,
did that.
your dexterity, or you're worried about? Or...
No, I just hurt myself.
Yeah,
hit myself
Too
with
much bending
hammers
over.
and
Too much
things
bending
like,
over. What kind of stuff were you designing then?
You know, I was doing hand tooling, but I would do tooling with alternative methods. I would use the sides of screws. I was doing a lot of studding, a bunch of kind of rock and roll
Right.
type stuff. And actually, I did some costumery for rock and roll bands
For who?
through a guy named Bill Witten, who's had a
Who
place
did
called Workroom 27, and he had. Everybody was doing tours back in the early 70s, and they had a budget for costumery. They'd have like $100,000 to spend on their costumes. And so, I mean, I may be exaggerating, but I would do belts and straps and things, and Three Dog Night.
Oh boy!
One of my favorite rock bios is Three Dog Nightmare. I just love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
God, I don't. I did people Letterman. I did something for Elton John, Edgar Winter.
Were you into any of that music at the time, or what kind of music were you into in the early 70s?
I was into Iggy and the Flaming Groovies at that point.
It's a good stretch.
I was Rocky Erickson and
Sure.
pretty much the lower depths of rock and roll.
But how did you? I mean, were you designing this stuff, and how did they find out about you? Like, how did you get?
Well, through this guy that I met,
okay.
Right out of high school. He lived in Echo Park, and he became huge. He did his main people actually in like the 80s was Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson. He designed.
Oh, wow.
He designed the glove.
Oh, funny. Was it his idea to wear one glove?
Probably. He was good.
Did you ever design any jock straps?
No,
Not yet.
No, not yet. No,
Somehow
I
I
didn't.
could see Fee Wable of the Tubes wearing something you made, but I guess that just never happened. Didn't happen yet.
Is there a jock strap thong hybrid out there? There must be.
What a horrible thought! I'm sure there is.
There's
a lot of stuff.
There's several stores in town you can go to. I'm sure to get your
Honey, it's
leather
not.
jock
You know
straps
what? When I
with-
want to floss my ass crack, I'll
with
let you
stuff.
know. Okay, but then it's not really where I prefer more like the longer style lace 1950s kind of panties, which
more classy,
accentuate my figure. I don't do the thong.
God.
more into comfort. I see.
No,
Okay.
I'm more into style.
Roar.
So we've got the soap going, we've got the leather going, and this is now the 73-4.
73, 74, 75. 75, I basically, or 74, I did the jacket, which was my 15 minutes of fame, which I won the.
When you say
Amazing.
the jacket,
The one that's behind us right now.
Yeah.
We'll have to get a picture of that.
Right. It won the Levi Denim and Strauss contest, which they only did once for some reason.
because no one could top you.
Well, I think it was a big publicity thing that these guys up in San Francisco, kind of more post-hippies, that were running an alternative PR firm. They sold it to Levi, the idea of doing this, and Levi got millions of dollars of publicity for it. I literally got $100,000 worth of publicity
Amazing.
for it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Now, is that an ashtray on the back of the jacket?
That is an ashtray.
So amazing.
And
Yes.
And it's got a front desk bell on the that I hooked up so it works when it's upright. The upshot of the deal was I really didn't ever get any business from it. And I said, well, fuck this shit. The store's making more money than I am. I started to concentrate on the store. I took my workspace and turned it into retail space. And, we just started growing and growing. And
so then
was Melrose.
Then was Melrose.
Okay.
And was Melrose...
Well, actually, first I bought my mother out.
Nice.
Wow.
We were not seeing eye to eye, and she wanted to get rid of it. And I said, well, who the hell's going to buy this? you
Yeah.
know?
Did you decide then to start with the gallery? Did they come
No,
into
the
play?
gallery was later. What happened was, actually, it was about 3 years before I moved to Melrose. I had looked at Melrose in like '77, and it was
It was
starting
sketchy.
to ferment
yeah, it was
and
still
stuff.
sketchy though.
And I said, it's not ready.
Yeah.
1980, I got a double shipment of soap from this one company. I said, oh, why don't I open another store? I signed the lease on December 1st and opened the store on December 8th.
Amazing.
Wow.
And in that time, we had to dismantle a huge, it was two 40-foot or 30-foot truckloads of debris that we had to take out. And all this time, I was also doing extra ordering to get more stuff in to fill the second store.
And in a week, you did it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Amazing.
On the 9th day, I rested.
Exactly.
Who's working in the store on the 9th day?
Fuck if I know.
So
Jeez.
tell us about the origins of the gallery, because you are known as basically the cultural mayor of Los Angeles art scene, and pretty much
underground art scene,
well,
let's say.
and lowbrow, which is
Yeah.
a term that I don't know if anybody. I like the term lowbrow art. I don't know who invented, if it was you or
Robert.
Robert did.
Yeah.
Robert,
there we go.
Robert, I think
Robert
he might
Williams.
even have copyrighted it.
That's amazing.
Although he claims he doesn't necessarily like that term, or I've heard him say, I read.
I
that
don't.
said-
I don't like the term.
Right.
What do you
It's
prefer?
not. Well, it only encompasses a small portion
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
of what goes for underground now art now, and what I in the first 20 years what I was doing.
Who were some of the first people that you displayed at your gallery?
Robert
Williams.
Gary Panter,
Yeah.
Mark Mothersbaugh, Georgianne Dean, Neon Park, who is one of the most amazing unsung artists of the period.
Which incorporates a lot of the same elements as Mark Ryden did, and even some Robert Williams, like the graphic design behind that.
Yeah.
So the connective tissue between all these people was that, first of all, in my opinion, as just a viewer of the art, whatever you want to call it, it was really beautiful in its grotesquerie. Like somehow they incorporated both beauty, death, horrible fear, sex, violence, pretty much a novel on canvas. A lot of these paintings are.
Well, yeah, that's one of the basic tenets of everything I do is narrative figurative work, which was not in vogue at the time at all.
Right.
It was all either minimalism,
Right.
Right. It was
post-expressionism and things like that.
Right.
This is all storytelling, basically.
Exactly how I feel. Each painting is like a novel on canvas.
I had been doing Day of the Dead for over 10 years at that point.
You mean artifacts or
just bringing things in for Day of the Dead. I started to get these big pieces.
right, which is fantastic. What we're looking at is a 2.5, 3 foot tall skeleton with a box that says TV that looks like an old camera.
Wow.
And the skeleton is directing a movie that only your mind's imagination can write. It's a fantastic piece
It's
of art.
filming the dead, but it's all
Filming
made
the
out
Dead.
of paper mache. But I started to get these things, and I don't know if you remember the Melrose store.
Yeah, I do.
But it was smaller.
Right.
And it was tight, and there was just no place.
Right.
There weren't any big shelves. I have more space here with shelves
Right.
up high,
Yeah.
and there was no place to put it. So we did a Day of the Dead show.
Must
And
have been fantastic.
And I have the poster around here someplace.
What
from
year
it.
was that?
That was October of 1986.
My God, you have a good memory.
Wow.
And that was, and it says soap plant on the thing. We hadn't
Right.
we hadn't named the gallery.
Right.
The show, I don't remember if it was a financial success or anything,
Right.
but I had the space upstairs, and I just gotten some other space, and different Robert Lopez,
Oh, yes. Was that
also
Elvez?
known as Elvez.
Elvez. Was he a gay Mexican Elvis impersonator?
Yes.
Very outrageous.
Don't tell anybody he's gay. The girls
Excuse me.
will be upset.
Excuse me, let me-
He is a heartthrob
Let me
too.
erase that. We're gonna
But for
we're
men
gonna-
and for
2018.
women, yes.
Let me say it again. Robert Lopez was a Mexican Elvis impersonator who was, by some degree, sexier than Elvis. And I think he still continues to this day. So he was one of your workers?
He was an employee, and he convinced me, he said, well, little back and forth, let's, continue. Let's open the gallery. We did a Christmas show, which was all ethnographic materials, which I've done a lot over the years because, one of the things that I do is popular culture from around the world and ritual cultures and just visual culture all around. I mean, that's what this is about. It's more than just a store. Right. It's kind of my life art piece.
And that's what you're considered the cultural mayor, because you're not just you started with Day of the Dead, but bringing in all of these other ritualistic, ethnic, different, the combination and the variety of what you brought in, although there is a connective tissue.
Well, exactly.
It's so diverse.
You step outside, and there's a macro aesthetic to all these details, and it's pretty impressive.
It's very impressive because also, you have helped to expand people's knowledge and appreciation for what does exist, and that's merely by your own interest, choice, and talent for finding these things, for digging them up and digging them out and putting them on display. Amazing. And thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, well, it's not only it's educational as well as being entertaining. I mean, people come in, they'll never been in here. They can spend 2 hours in here and
2 days.
And still not see everything.
I'm surprised people don't hide behind the counter just wanting to get locked in.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have? I mean, your memory's great. Do you have a mental inventory going on, or how do you?
I know a lot of stuff, but there's 15,000 items in here, and I can't. I mean, people, will come up, will call me and say, "How's my book doing?" And so I don't have shit. I don't have a clue.
Who is this?
Call a publisher.
I'll look. Yeah, I'll look in the computer. But it's in the computer. It's taken years and years, but everything's and computer goes down. We went down the other day. It was just like
it
was like we were virtually closed for 2 hours, kind of thing. When it's like, well, what happens when everything goes? Which we don't want to. I don't know if we want to go there in this conversation.
So I want to ask you. I mean, obviously you remember all these shows, the ones that stand out to you, and you kind of preface it. I don't know if it's made money, blah blah blah. What were some of the? Can you keep on going with that list? Some ones that really stand out to you throughout the years
your favorite ones, and also the most successful ones that helped you.
Now you see. Now my memory is slipping. Well, I mean, we did some wonderful shows with Neon Park, Zulkowski, which they've got a big documentary out now that everybody seems to be talking about.
That Robert Williams was involved in and produced by Leonardo DiCaprio.
So that was, a huge show. Probably, I think, the most memorable, probably a tie between the first Joe Coleman show.
Oh, amazing, yes.
Where he went out to the beach and blew himself up.
The dynamic Joe Coleman.
And the Zap, I believe it was 13 show that we did.
What year was that?
91. I know. I'm sure we've got a poster for it and stuff. We've got a poster for the Zulkowski show, which we, had to put out and advertise it, and with lettering for Rick Griffin. Of course, the show that didn't happen was Rick Griffin's show, which he died 3 or 4 months before the show happened, and it was really, it would have been to my knowledge, his first solo show. And, because basically one of the foundations was the Zap artists, which kind of came
Zap
through Robert Williams. Right. And both Robert Williams shows here were iconic. We had a line a block long to get in because the way that La Luz was set up back on Melrose was it was a warren of rooms upstairs above the soap plant in Wacko. It was, you put 200, 300 people there, and it was like sardines and just crazy. Yeah. So we had to we had to stop people, and it's his first sellout show, and as you can ask Robert about this. We have a contention on how the show came about, because I remember pursuing him, and he always says he had to persuade me to do the
Really?
show.
Really?
Seems kind of inconsistent.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own version of any story.
Oh yeah, no,
That's right.
that's
Doesn't matter, because the coming together of you and him, and him for some reason at that point, before that, Robert was basically showing at really underground punk kind of galleries, and
well, yeah. He showed about 6-8 months beforehand to what I consider the Shot Across the Bow, the seminal original lowbrow show, which was the Western Exterminators show at 01, which I've looked in the internet and can never find anything about it when the exact date was.
Western Exterminator.
It was called the Western Exterminators.
Nothing to do with that big sign, or is it? It
It was named after that.
Okay, so
and
let
I
me just
believe
describe what
that
the
was-
Western Exterminator sign, which is an LA icon, really, which is over. I don't know which freeway you go to get on it, but it's
It's the 101.
it's
but
the 101, and
that's
it's a man with a hat and a big hammer that a mouse is under, and it's called Western Exterminators, and it's still one of the greatest.
Well, he's also
great signs.
he's also got blind man's glasses. Next time you look at
we
it,
go.
and a
Yeah.
top hat, and he's got the big sledgehammer kind
and
of old
what
style.
year would that sign? What year would that sign have been from? Because it's been there forever. 40s, 50s.
I remember it from the 50s.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah,
have
I
no
know
idea how.
exactly.
I'm sure.
Is it maintained?
Yeah.
It always
has-
brings
Oh
a
yeah,
smile.
I see the trucks around.
It always brings
They're
a smile.
still working.
Right
yeah.
when you're ready to get on the 101 freeway, which nobody likes to do, at least you have the smile of the Western Exterminator sign, which somehow just brings a little joy.
Yeah.
Because it's so it's such an icon of LA. So anyways, called the Western Exterminator.
Yes, and it was Robert Williams, Gary Panter, and Big Daddy Roth.
Oh my God.
And
Amazing.
so, it was kind of this triumvirate of
Right.
lowbrow.
Yeah.
And those people really are, kind of the
granddaddies,
foundations
yeah.
of.
How do you maintain your interest and continue? Because you.
Oh,
Like-
I don't maintain it.
Oh, right. No, it just runs itself.
Yeah.
Do people come to you? The gallery runs. There's exhibitions all the time. Do these people find you? Do you find them? Who shows now? Because
Mostly I find them. We have the group show, which is coming up in March, which is now it's gone under different names, and it's basically an extension of the Day of the Dead show. The Day of the Dead show, when it first started, was all Mexican artisania, all folk artists from Mexico, and gradually it became all American artists influenced by it. And I think the last show, I don't know if there was any, and that it ran 10 years. And then we just started doing a group show instead. We've done some themed group shows, but we just don't do themes anymore. I think they're really asinine. I think they suck the life out of everything, and mostly of them have such stupid, idiotic premises. But my big problem with them is that if an artist doesn't sell his work, what's he supposed to do with a piece on some Wes Anderson film?
Right. God.
I have no idea.
Sits in the back of his closet.
Yeah.
You paint
Right.
over it. What do you do?
So going back to Zapp, did you ever show Crumb?
No, he was in the group show, but Crumb is always, even back then, was represented by a highfalutin, legit gallery.
All right. Really? I don't know.
Yeah.
Why didn't I?
I would have loved to, but we showed literally everybody else, including a couple of the San Francisco poster artists. And for some reason, I can't. It was
Kozik?
Mouse and Kelly.
Okay.
I think I don't know if we showed both of them. We showed Mao. No, we showed Kelly. No, I can't remember.
All right.
But you know, we did S. Clay Wilson 4, 5, 6 times.
great,
I
yeah.
can't even remember. I mean, he, by the way, is a major influence on my life. Between the Addams Family and S. Clay Wilson and Captain Pissgums, probably two of my biggest influences. You know,
The
no
Addams Family,
Nietzsche
that's
or
great.
Sartre, you know, none of these shit. You know,
Not that you haven't, not that you don't know what you're talking about when you say that, but the Addams Family is a good reference point. So you were goth pre-goth. That's the Addams Family kind of goth.
yeah, I guess so. But I mean,
Not that I consider you
I mean,
goth.
but I, you know, I was into the comic. I mean,
Right.
into the cartoon. My mother was a lifelong New Yorker reader, and
Okay.
which I have continued
Okay.
to do it. Skulls have a great fascination, and you know it's primary source of things, and you may notice they're everywhere. And of course, Day of the Dead,
Exactly.
you know,
All
went
about, yeah.
slapped me in the face and said, "Sit down."
We all have a skull. We just rarely get to see our own.
Yeah.
So, it's the same reason I like things like Body Worlds, or when they used to have the Operation channel on. I was addicted to watching Operations on TV because I've had a lot. So, I don't call that necessarily morbid. I mean, I then graduated to softer core forensic files and stuff like that. But, it's understandable.
Did you ever go to the catacombs in Paris?
Well, I still live there. I have seen the mummies in Palermo, Italy.
I haven't.
I photographed them, and you're not supposed to, but every time I took a photo, I would cough, like, slap. Because there was, like, a priest in a long robe walking around. I got those pictures of those baby mummies. Yes, I do.
So do you, this is your life, and I mean, do you ever go to other people's shows at this point? Do you go out and check out other art exhibitions? You check out
That's
music
funny.
shows?
Funny you should ask, because several people asked me in the last week whether I was going to the LA Art Show, and my answer was no, because there's most of the people there I don't want to know or I don't want to see.
Fair.
No, I really don't go to shows in LA. I go to shows in the desert. You know, I live part-time in the Joshua Tree area, and I go to most of the shows there, and
Art
it's
shows,
a very
music shows.
well, a lot of music, but they have a art walk, a weekend where everybody opens, and there are 3 or 4 galleries and things popping up, and it's more like a community, and it's not the same thing, and I really,
Well,
like I
a lot of
said,
people-
don't want to see people.
Joshua Tree has
Fair.
attracted, a lot of interesting LA people that just want to get away for the weekend, want to get away from LA, want to get away from everyone they know. But there is a tight-knit community out there of artists, of galleries, of musicians. How long have you been going out to Joshua Tree?
Well, I've been going out to that area of the desert since I was about 8 or 9,
Nice.
7, 8 or 9. I was seriously going out about 25 years ago.
Do you feel different the minute you get there?
Yeah, no, I can pretty much slough everything off, and it is a different atmosphere. It's completely, the air, just everything about it, and the light, and lots of rocks.
I love Pioneer Town. That landscape is just so extraterrestrial.
Yeah, that's partly because of the fire.
Well, is it? No, I'm talking about the big rock formations. What fire, really?
Yeah. Well, I'm about 2.5 miles over the hill from Pappy's.
Okay, yeah.
And between Pappy's and me, there's literally nothing
Okay.
but ravines and rocks. It is. I think I haven't been to the park literally in 7 years because I have a park,
Right.
10,000 acres in my backyard.
Exactly.
So any shows coming up that you're particularly excited about?
They're
or-
all good. I mean, we do amazing shows. This show, the last show. I have to look at the schedule.
Well, you don't stop, so it's hard to remember everything.
I mean, we had some just amazingly world-class shows. I mean, Daniel Martin Diaz was Mary Rose Crook, who is just astounding painter. We have a lot of people still that people don't know about, that are still underground.
Well, that's why you're here, is to help educate the public.
Yeah. I've become this consumerist centered on Christmas, where I am the Christmas store. You know, I'm a communist Jewish atheist. Where does that fit in?
That's funny.
What are you going to do with all your money, Billy?
Give it away.
I can't wait. Please.
The thing is, what am I going to do with this art?
What do you exactly? I mean, who's going to take all this over? I mean, not that you're not going to be. You're going to be here for a while more, but I mean, you got to consider that at some point. Like, what the hell? Who's going to be able to maintain this?
Well, I was, there are several collectors, and I need to talk to some of them about.
But how is,
establishing some kind of trust and museum, because that, there's a lot of my folk art I know where to give it to. There's a lot of things I know where to give it, but the art needs to be curated into a collection. Yeah. I've got some money, but I don't have enough money to start a museum.
Not yet.
Somebody
should start it for you. But
I'm not Eli Broad. I'm just not.
It is the anti-museum museum. And what's great about it is there's not that stiffness, bullshit, ego, all that crap that goes along with, higher institutions. I mean, this store has none of that. It has none of it. You walk in and you're immediately...
Kind of try for something. I mean, it's successful. That's 47 years.
That's the only thing.
Extremely successful.
Longer lasting than most other galleries or museums. But this aesthetic that you've this environment, this otherworldly location that is basically a reflection of your incredibly beautifully twisted psyche.
I knew Twisted was going to be in there someplace.
Is a museum that everybody's welcome to, and anybody that comes in, you become absorbed in the store, because you can't absorb everything that's in the store. So you might actually become a piece of walking art going between where do you start?
And so 47 years, which is unbelievable. At this point,
congratulations.
Obviously you have this great eye, you have this all this experience finding stuff. At this point, does stuff just come to you?
There are things that come to me, but 90% of it is looking, but maybe not 90%, but I'm in a position where things do come to me, new ideas, new directions. Technically, that's all up to me, but I'm kind of feeling a bit used up. It's like everybody, Billy, what's next?
Going out to
if
the
I
desert
know, I'm not fucking going to tell you.
There you go.
Maybe just go into the desert this weekend. Hit me back up on Monday.
Yeah, but it's hard. Now compared to when I first opened, the merchandise has exploded. What's available? There wasn't the amount of goods out there is literally over 1,000 times what it was in 1971, 72.
Just because of mass consumption has gone to new levels?
Because of China.
Yeah, right.
No. Because licensing.
Okay.
Licensing accounts for just an astronomical amount of items. I mean, the SKUs that are available. Books, which is a lot of that, is China. The reason I've published 35 books, something like that, and I've done that because of China, because of computers. And there's another thing, computerization and digitalization has before when you made a toy, you had to go and you had to make these molds and things like that. And all that stuff can be done. You can make, you got computers.
Do it in your house.
Yeah, no, you've got computers
3D printing, yeah.
that can do 3D printing. Literally, anything's possible. And it's just much easier to do a small run because it wasn't affordable. That's what, artist toys have exploded, starting in the early 2000s. And that's because of technology.
So make sure you actually have more work than ever because of that.
Well, sorting it out, I really try not to do a lot of licensed stuff. I'm just I'm cutting out just about everything Star Wars. I only do, this really obscure licensing, and of course I don't do sports licensing, but huge, just fucking huge how much sports paraphernalia, how much there is out there. I mean, I literally think there's probably 1 million different items available on the market right now for NHL,
Right.
NASCAR.
Oh God.
These of course, and I don't, do anything like that. That's what I'm.
There, though.
No.
Yeah, well, there's like you said, I said there's so much shit out there, and
Well, you're known for your quality control. I mean, that's the thing about this store is if you need to get a birthday or Christmas gift or just
that was that was the idea.
well, you did
but
a damn good job there, Billy.
but
47 years later.
I'm telling
but
you,
I see
I've got
every
my credit card with me just in case.
every once in a while I see somebody walk out with anything, and that's
Well, maybe they
just,
went to the
breaks
ATM.
my heart. Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe they just went to. Maybe they couldn't choose because they want everything. That's usually when I'm in here. I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, no, I want everything. I'll just take the oil, thank you.
Yeah. Well,
Mine's just blown.
that brings me in mind something that I figured out about consumerism, and one of the reasons I moved off Melrose was that it became too commercial, and McDonald's and
Crap.
Benetton
Corporate
started
crap.
moving in. But I would stand out on a Saturday and do what I called a bag test, and I would watch the people on the street to see if they had bags.
Bags
And-
from shops, you mean?
Bags from any shops or from my shop or whatever. Most of them didn't. So they were tourists, basically, cultural tourists. Bridge and Tunnel is.
Yeah.
Right.
They were from Orange
County, yeah.
That really told me a lot about. That was my marketing ploy to see how it was, and I noticed that I would have literally 10 times the traffic on a Saturday as a weekday, but I would only do twice as much. You should have seen the sidewalk in front of the store. I had to have it steam cleaned every other month because yes, it was polka dotted from gum.
Oh my
It was, and because there was also
bonkers.
a bus stop that stopped in front,
Oh yeah.
So
they were black from exhaust and
the
stuff.
The bus stop.
The bus stop. I had to clean the gutter every other day, kind of thing.
And of course,
stuff.
you're inhaling it if you're there all the time too. It probably wasn't good for the.
Yeah.
people.
So when did you occupy this space then here where
Oh, you see, that's the one date I don't know.
what year though?
94.
94.
And then I had 2 stores at the same time. But I had the other reason I moved out was the gallery was literally shut down by the city because the building department, fire department cited me for not having a permit for assembly.
Which in Los Angeles, I mean, I've heard. I mean, just that whole world, the regulations, all the permits are. That's why it's the same rock clubs forever, because to start a new one is such a pain in the ass.
Oh, well, that's also why they're all in the Sunset Strip, because it was unincorporated.
Oh.
Okay.
That's why you had all the big nightclubs out there. That was a huge thing.
Did you
I don't
used
know
to-
what it is right now.
Did you
if it's
used to
West
go to the
Hollywood.
Whiskey, the Roxy? Who'd you see play at the Whiskey?
Everybody
Everybody would tell us. The Doors?
No, I never saw the
Alice
Doors.
Cooper?
It was. God, no, I didn't. I saw Bob Seger. I saw Flaming Groovies. I saw Iggy did the Stooges did a 1 week stand. I went every night.
When was that? What year was that? 70? 69, 70?
No, that was
Later.
I don't know. It was Raw Power. It was right after
okay.
Raw Power. He came to live in
must have been amazing.
L.A. and actually, my guy that was doing costumes did all these costumes for him for the show, and he came out in his underwear.
See, that
Yeah.
thong would have come in handy.
Oh my
then.
God.
Yeah,
Piggy and a thong. Yeah,
yeah. It was pretty much
for,
a thong.
for little Jimmy.
I don't know. You name him. Patti Smith, AC/DC. I saw there.
Oh.
You know, I didn't know I could get in underage when, and I didn't have any money. I went to the Shrine, like every weekend, and I saw, and that was 67. So
who were you
I
seeing
saw Janis Joplin 14, 15 times, and there wasn't anybody
Yeah.
like Janis Joplin.
No, absolutely.
You know, Quicksilver, Jefferson Airplane, you know, everybody, Traffic, Velvet Underground. I could go on.
Yeah,
Moody
history,
Brute,
history of
Jeff,
rock.
yeah, the Jeff Beck group with Rod Stewart
Oh.
would play like once a month. They went from New York to L.A. to New York to L.A. That's what their management said. We're going to break you in the United States.
Just like faces? Or
never
like
happened.
Small
Was that
faces?
was that Faces?
No.
No, it was before that.
Beckola
yeah.
and Truth. You don't know those
No,
albums?
yeah. Because
Yeah.
Rod Stewart, it was Beck's band. And,
It was
and,
and Rod
and
Stewart.
was the lead singer. Right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh man. Yeah, that was something
Early
else.
Rod Stewart was just
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Oh
Really
yeah,
was.
no, and the Faces.
Oh, unbelievable.
Faces
Yeah, grand.
would blow the Stones off the
Well,
stage any night of the week. I mean, they were a fucking
for a live band. Yeah.
for a live band.
Yeah. They were.
Them and Jay Giles.
Oh, funny. Peter Wolf. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was in a Penn and Teller video with Peter Wolf once. That's my only connection to Jay Giles, and he was a sweetie.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I mean, do you ever go out to rock shows now? Well, in Joshua Tree, you said.
Yeah. Well,
It's
you know,
easy-
I
it's
go.
easier to go there as well.
Yeah, no, I go to shows. I mean, I saw Elvez at Christmas. I go to a lot of shows out in the desert. I go to see my friends play usually.
Yeah.
I don't really go any place bigger than a nightclub.
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course,
no, actually, we're gonna go see Brian Ferry. I saw, and I just saw Patti Smith at the Wiltern about 6 months ago. So I mean, if it's something, really, amazing. I mean, if Al Green's gonna play in town, I go see Al Green, no matter where he's playing.
So, anything you want to plug, or is there?
My asshole.
Oh my God!
I can help you there, Billy. Just bend over. I'm here to help.
You know,
buddy.
you give me a straight line like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Here to help.
That's a good answer.
Oh no, I should have said my butt. Where am I?
God.
Okay. Plug. The website. I don't know what it is
Yeah,
these
tell
days.
us the website. Oh, you know what it is.
I think it's soplant.com.
We'll find it.
But
We'll plug it for you. Don't worry.
I don't know. We have something with Wacko in it that we're supposed to. I could never get the Wacko domain. So.
Oh, okay. All right, you're listening to the Lydian Spin with Tim Dahl, and we've been talking with Billy Shire. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl and all those fantastic guests we've had. I know you love it, so why don't you share it? Rate it wherever you listen to it. Pump those numbers up, motherfuckers.